Podcasting from the Sound of Freedom Studios, this is Local Politics. All right, in the studio today we have Heather Jackson and Paul Kendzior, which I remembered how to pronounce his name from the last time he was in here. Heather Jackson has a degree in American Studies, Cultural History, with a minor in music. She's an avid runner and a stay-at-home parent to 3 amazing boys. Community involvement is very important to her. It is this belief and the happenings of the old Northcliffe Golf Course that have spurred her participation in forming a public improvement district, a PID, to preserve green space for the residents of the Northcliffe area and all of Schertz. And next to her, we also have Paul Kendzior, returning to the Local Politics Freedom Studio. He was raised in Shibboleth area since 2004 and graduated out of Steele before pursuing technical certifications and beginning his first civil service love at the fire department. Living in Northcliffe with his wife and daughter and seeing the passion in his neighborhoods to protect their community has motivated him to help use his firsthand experience of just how deeply local government can affect your life to step up and lead his community. Paul currently works as a consultant for the PID committee and looks forward to serving his community on city council this year. Welcome, Paul and Heather.
Thank you all for having us. How's it going?
We're happy to be here.
Yeah, I drive by Northcliffe Golf Course. That's why you guys are here. Let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
There's this big, bad, scary developer that was coming, and the neighborhood people were really concerned about it. I know there was like the whole neighborhood showed up, not to tell David Scaglioli he's doing a great job for Northcliffe. They came to a meeting because you guys wanted to talk about this property. So what's going on with it now? Is a developer coming? Are they going to have 7-Elevens out there? Are you building a downtown bar district? What's going on?
So we've got a couple things going on out there right now. Initially, the cause last year of all of the concern and everything was a 26 or 27 acre parcel right there on the north side of Country Club Drive. That was slated to be developed by Hobby, and they were going to put in a bunch of quadplexes. So it was going to be very highly dense. They were asking for a lot of variances in impervious coverage, runoff, street size, off-street parking, all of this stuff. And it just wasn't a good fit. And so the neighborhood rallied together, and they got out, and they made their voices heard. And luckily, it got shot down at that city council meeting, and it barely failed. It barely failed. And we were able to show that we had a voice and that we needed to be talked with the developer. And so the developer came, sat with us, and has started making some changes. You know, they're in it for a profit, and we're in it to kind of protect our livelihood and the way of life that we enjoy right now. They cut down the number a little bit, and they brought it through again. We killed it again. It just wasn't a good fit. It's just not right. And now they're in their third process. They just cleared the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we've got a pending city council meeting for that land. But it kind of it was the motivator that everything needed, because one of the biggest things, you know, other than all the drama that happened, you know, and all the zoning, and anytime there's things like that, we had council members that were, you know, sitting up there and grandstanding about the American dream and the differences and in owning your home, and that's not what it is anymore. We had others that were so dramatic they were having police escorts in and out of the council meetings because of this violent mob that was out to protect their way of life. And we had a lot of it was really eye-opening for a lot of our community members to see how these council members viewed us. You know, Northcliffe has always kind of been the redheaded stepkid of Schertz. You know, we're way out here on the outside. We don't have a lot of city service. We don't have a lot of parks and things that are there for us and that are at least, you know, close. And we're kind of the long forgotten annexation. And one of the things that got said was, you know, you guys had the opportunity to deal with this when the golf course closed down years ago, and nothing happened. And, you know, that's true. I look at it as a failure of our city leadership to not make things happen, right? You know, because ultimately, what layperson knows what a PID is or how to go about the process of it, right? And one of the other things that was told to us was, well, you guys should put your money where your mouth is. And so Heather and her husband, they did a lot of research, and they figured out the PID as being an actual possibility. And that's what kind of got this whole process kick-started, was realizing, hey, we can come together and we can create something that's going to handle this issue, because every other parcel on that golf course is slated for some form of development. You know?
It seems to not have any problem normally getting through zoning. Zoning seems to be pretty unified, and whatever, working with this developer to come up with nice.
Well, to an extent. See, planning and zoning shut it down the first time, and I think they recommended it the second.
They did. They recommended it the second go-around when they were coming for townhomes, and then they just recommended it the third time for duplexes.
We have a shortage of affordable housing. They tried to open up an apartment complex in Shirts off of 3009. I know, Kelly Smith, some of my friends were adamantly against it. In Selma, we've kind of figured out an area near 1604 off of Lookout Road. We're trying, but we got to get some affordable housing. So you can't blame this developer.
No, it's absolutely something that we need. I mean, I think last I checked, the median home price in the city of Shirts was $463,000. That's a punch in the gut for somebody starting out.
And also, I'm really curious what the median income is for Shirts. Do you know that number by any chance?
I don't know it off the top of my head. I know it's a little bit better than average.
Well, but it's not. I think there's a disparity there. You know what I mean? It's not like anyway.
You don't dare move.
No,
not right now.
No.
Yeah, you don't dare move. Not if you have kids and a family. What's your vision before we get into the process too far? What's your vision for that property? And we'll pull up the map right now too. That'd be great. And we have it up here in the studio as well. And for your listeners at home, we'll try to do the best. But basically, the PID is kind of in the middle of the golf course, correct?
It is. It's the interior portions. So the portions of the old golf course that are along the I-35 corridor, they're already zoned commercial. And the broker is not interested in selling that to us. It's going to be high profit for him, which is understandable. So we have focused our attention on the interior portions of the course. So you can see them on the map. There's an L shape and then another little piece. We would like the hobby land we would consider including as well. We're just trying to see how this whole thing plays out with the current developer on that piece. But, the process has been really interesting in talking with the city. When I first started doing research, we'd come straight out of that city council meeting and they're saying, hey, you guys missed your opportunity. And first I was talking with a council member on the phone and I'm like, do you really think we truly missed an opportunity? And he said, I'm really not that sure. He said, it's a long shot. And then I'm on the phone with one of the city managers and I asked him the same question. And he said, I don't really know if it's truly a viable option. And I said, well, let me ask some questions. How does this work? And I was on the phone for hours that day. And my poor husband comes home from work and I'm like, listen to what I learned. And so I'm going down this huge list and I'm telling him how it works, what I learned. And I get to the end and he looks at me and he takes a deep breath and he goes, that sounds like a lot of work. And I said, yes. And he goes, I'm in it if you are. And I was like, let's do it. And so that's kind of how we got involved. And we rallied with some fellow neighbors who are just as passionate as we are. And it really is nothing against affordable housing or multifamily housing. We recognize all of us started that way. It's about finding something that is truly appropriate in the middle of our already existing neighborhoods. And as Paul mentioned, we don't have a lot in our part of Shirts as far as parks and green space, and we kind of view it as an opportunity. In that conversation that I had with the city, there were one thing that kind of made me pause right at first is, yes, we will be paying this assessment to preserve the green space, but at the end of the day, the city will own the land. And I was like, wait a second, if the city's going to own the land, how do we ensure that it stays what we want it to be? And he said, well, it'll pretty much be zoned as parkland. And that is next to impossible to ever get rezoned because nobody wants to undo a park zoning. And he said, you guys can write the PID in a certain way that we pretty much can't change it. And I was like, okay. So he said, we will work with you guys. And they've been really, really helpful to answer all of my questions. But in all honesty, there are questions that I have that they don't have an answer to because no one's done this before. It's new territory for all of us.
Well, and it's a complicated process. So Texas law is kind of the one they're the governing body over this stuff, and it's interesting because you guys are going to form a committee. right? And then you're going to have to get a certain number of people to do a petition, right? And what does that petition look like? Or do you guys have your...
So basically, what we've got worked out right now is the city was really welcoming to us, and they hosted a whole special PID workshop to kind of go over everything that we needed to go answer a lot of questions. Essentially, what they told us is get everything ready, get everything set, do a couple dry runs, get everything, all your T's or your I's dotted, your T's crossed, everything ready to submit. Because once it does, like, it's going to roll and it can be in process. And that time could be the time that it takes to kill the possibility. So, we've been kind of looking at this as we've got one shot to do it. We need to do it exactly right. We need to do it exactly perfect. So the first thing that we're doing right now is we'll be coming around and we're going to be doing door-to-door polling and talking with everybody based on the calculations that we have right now and saying, hey, you live at this address. Here is what we figure your monthly, your yearly price would be on this PID. Is this something that you are okay with? Where does this put you? And hey, you're paying not just for this to be parkland, but you're paying to stop the fight. This is, we don't have to go to a city council meeting every week to fight the next development that's coming in on the parcel after and the parcel behind. And once we get that done, we have to have 51% of the people included in our PID, because we get to draw our own boundary. We get to draw our own ideas for what the improvements are going to be. But the state law says we have to have 51% of the people that are included in that PID boundary. Now, city council can say that they want to raise that threshold, that they want it to be, 70% or 60 or, whatever number. We don't think that's going to be very highly likely because the city council has been very supportive of this. I mean, it was their idea, right? Put our money where our mouth is. Councilman Dalla even offered to waive the application fee for our committee to put the PID through, which is, tens of thousands of dollars. And so there's definitely support for it. It's kind of a cool thing for them to do. So
did I just hear you right and said that the application fee is tens of thousands of dollars?
Absolutely.
Hold up, right? That's what you always say. I was waiting for the hold up.
The problem is, this isn't a PID is not something that they made for a group of neighbors to come in and do. A PID is typically done by a large corporation that wants to come in and create like a business park, like say the Forum, right, or something like that. If they wanted to make it a mix of a bunch of things, if it was one big management company, right. That's what the intention behind a PID is. Now, in the state of Texas, there have been other places where they've utilized it for community parks or ball fields and things like that, different improvements. This one's just unique in that it's the neighborhoods coming together and being like, hey, we really enjoy having this green space behind us where we walk around and there's nothing going on. And it's we paid lot premiums to have this stuff behind us back in the day, and now we want to protect it, and this seems to be the only way because our city council's not hearing our voices, and I thank God every day that Texas is a private property state, so that their hands are tied in what they can prevent if it's legal and doesn't create genuine nuisance. You should be able to do what it is that you want to do with your property.
So there's two areas, and so you guys are going to get these petitions. Moving on, there's the area that's a little bit farther north. What is that? What do you refer to that piece of land as, or what neighborhood is that?
What, the little PID Island up there?
PID Island.
That was the 13th hole, I believe, and there's just nothing there right now. It's a pretty small parcel, but all of those houses back up to it. And it was like, why wouldn't we include that and preserve, the land right behind their houses?
The PID,
as well?
I'm telling you now, the PID Island, that right there is a lazy river for those people that live next to it. I'm just saying, you could probably get a lot of support if it was a lazy river.
Hey, if you saw how much the city of Schertz spends in chemicals for pools every year, you would be anti any kind of water on that dang thing.
I'm a Scott Larson fan, so actually I know that number. Now, the thing about that PID Island, that's in the upper part of the graph here, going north up 35. That is now a developer could come in and put houses. There's enough room to put houses in there.
Theoretically, there is.
There's people are saying
There's
there's
no
not enough
access to
room
it.
to put a road, but the developer has said, well, maybe we'll put in cottages. I'm like, I don't know what a cottage would look like, but okay.
So the developer that owns that piece of land, is that the other developer
So
that
they're
owns
not
the
owned
elbow?
by developers yet.
Not
So
yet.
there's a broker that has all of the existing parcels of the golf course.
Okay.
They sold to the developer in between the green and the red neighborhood right there. That's the tract that Hobby, the current developer, owns. The frontage of 35 is all going to be commercial there. And basically, the neighborhood has done a very good job for the last 10 years or so of putting up a fight against anything that tries to come in here. Because in all honesty, there's really nothing that's a good fit for that area.
Right.
I mean, you can talk about needing affordable housing and needing different types of business and stuff throughout the city. Absolutely. And those are true and valid points. But what do you squeeze in between, an R6 and an R6, that doesn't exist anymore? So it's not a good fit for anything other than more homes. And the problem is the price of land now, nobody's going to come in and build, quarter acre, half acre lot homes in that area.
Got it. And then the PID elbow, the southern one, or leg.
Is that the technical term?
Yeah, well, it looks like somebody's sitting down or something. But the leg there, or whatever you want to call it, that is owned by the same broker?
Yes.
Or the broker's representing that piece of property?
Yes,
as well?
he's
Okay.
representing that property.
All right. And then, is there been any talk about anything happening on that chunk?
So lots.
That's the desirable one.
They want to sell lots for houses.
No.
No.
A lot. I should use better English
Yeah.
here. Yeah, there's a lot that's been slated there. I know that in the bottom.
many things.
Yes, very many.
So
Multiple.
I'm like, one big lot? Who's moving into that place?
So
We're
that's
saving it for
why.
you.
Yeah.
Down in the in the seat of the man sitting down, or the elbow of the arm, right there they were looking at putting, what was it, Heather, like 1,600 unit apartment complex that they wanted to bring in there. I know when I first purchased my house in 2020, which is right on the edge of the yellow and the blue, they were talking about bringing in like a skilled rehab / office center in on that little section. There's a lot of people that are eyeballing this land because we're the fastest growing suburb in the country, basically, and they all want to be in here. And that's what they're looking at there.
So if I want to buy PID elbow and PID Island, what's the cost?
So we don't have exact numbers yet. So the broker has said that he's talked with the owner and they are very interested in working with us. He's been very helpful in answering our questions, but we can't actually talk real numbers with him until we have submitted a letter of intent with him. And then that's when the negotiations will start.
Okay. If I asked one of your neighbors, what would they ballpark it within 3 or 4 million?
So we've gotten a ballpark from him because we told him, we're like, look, we need something to calculate to see if this is even feasible. Before we go bite off attorney's fees and write up a letter of intent and all of these things to do, where are we at? And we're looking right at, I think it was 12 million, 12.4.
That's with interest, and that's like all. So like the little PID Island was about $750,000 for that little piece.
Okay.
The elbow, I don't remember exactly what it was because we've been calculating everything with interest, and so the numbers are.
I feel like Rain
big.
Man with numbers lately.
I
like
can't
they're
believe
just dancing around me.
Well, and this is kind of a conundrum, right? Because you could always just go check. I mean, it's not going to be very difficult to hit the yellow and green houses around PID Island and say, for your chunk, it's this. Right. And then you might get all yeses. 85% of the people said, yes, let's go to the city and lock that one in for sure. Right. But then you go down to the elbow and you're not getting as much.
So the good news is that we have received a lot of positive feedback from the community. This is definitely something that they're interested in. This is definitely something that they want. Initially we were ballparking like $100 a month assessments for this. And even at that rate, a lot of people were still like, well, you know what? It's worth it. Like, it protects our property value. It protects the development. It keeps us from having, apartments in our backyard view. And we see value in that. Now, that value degrades as you radiate further and further away from the golf course. But of the 5 communities right there, so many of them still use the golf course. So right now, it currently has the old cart path that they use as a walking trail. I mean, everybody's around it all the time.
I see people walking. When I'm driving, you can see them out there walking. And so you have the color-coded map here. So what are the people in the purple? Why do they give?
Fairhaven.
They use it too.
We've had to look at this in many different ways. We have several different maps. We've run numbers different ways. This map seemed like our simplest way to roll it out. So it's actually done by HOA. So all of the yellow houses, you'll notice they actually touch the PID land. They have a view of it. It greatly affects their way of life. They will pay the top dollar.
Sure.
And so in this scenario, with the estimates that we have right now, it would be $75 a month for the yellow houses. But you get further out to the orange, and you're looking at $10 a month. So we really have tried to keep this reasonable. As much as we want this to be successful, the last thing we want is for it to pass and somebody to be sitting there completely in an awful financial situation.
Yeah.
We wouldn't want to do that to anybody.
Whoopsie, our calculation was off. It's $500 a month. Hey, and so
Decimal wasn't around.
Yeah. So, and so then now, so you guys have crunched some numbers. Talk to your husband, talk to your wife. And it's a lot of work. And so now you have to go. Are you at the point now where you're going to get the petition signed?
Yes.
It will be a preliminary petition, which the city has asked us to do. It will not be the official one. They want to see that there is viable support before we move forward.
And so you're going to put some verbiage on the top of the petition with some rough numbers. You're going to guess a little high,
Yep.
right? So you're going to say $100 and $20 or whatever, let's say whatever it is. And then you're going to go door to door. Is that how this petition happens?
Basically. So what we're going to do essentially with this position, this petition is the broadest shot that we can take, right? It includes the most amount of homes. It's the most difference in the tiers of the evaluations for what's going to be paid in. And it allows us a lot of leeway to see where our interest is and where it isn't. Because as we draw this PID, right, we kind of have to be smart about it and do it like a heat map, right? Because if there's a huge section that we include that is a lot of no's, well, that drops our percentage and it makes the whole entirety of the PID a lot less likely. So in this preliminary one, we're going to go through and we will know how far into the orange before people stop really supporting it or see a value out of it. How far into the yellow, how far into the red, how are people in the blue feel? How's the pink? We can look at all of these different things, and that's where we know, okay, well, these people said we're good with this as it's calculated, and these other people said, well, we're on the fence, we'd be better if we were at these numbers. And these people told us outright, nope, we don't care, build apartments, put in a sewage treatment plant, whatever, we don't care. Okay. And with that, we're going to be able to say, all right, well, here is the right amount of boundary that we need. This is the final way that it is. This is how we have to change our numbers a little bit around. And that's what we roll through to the city. So it's like the rough draft right before, we send it in for its final cut.
Now, when you do the petition, that's a lot of walking.
Yes, sir.
And I've done a lot of campaigning, and and the other thing too is with our HOA, we can dissolve it if I can get 77% or whatever the number is of people to sign off on an agreement or give me a proxy. Essentially, I have to, when I start, if I was ever going to do it, I have to get it done in like 90 days or something. The problem is a lot of people don't own their properties. When you go door to door and tracking those people down, because we tried it 20 years ago and it proved impossible.
You mean like renters?
Yeah, because they can't sign it, right? It's got to be. It's got to be the.
Well, that's public information. You get an absentee list to find out who's.
Yeah. And they call the management company. I'm just saying, it's a lot of work to get to all these houses.
It is.
But it's nothing. It's nothing compared to what everybody of this community or this committee has already bitten off. To get to this stage has been weeks and weeks of long nights and meeting 2-3 times a week, discussing how do we do this, what do we do with this, and we've just been given this big mountain to climb. and we just put our head down and taken one step and one step, and we've been very lucky.
How big is your committee? How many people do you think you can help with the petition?
We've got about 8 people that have been meeting with us. And so we're looking at, and we've had other people say, hey, I would love to volunteer. And so we're looking at dividing out our streets. Hey, these 4 are yours. And then we're going to each we'll have our own map where we keep track of, we did make contact at this house. And on this preliminary petition, it won't just be a flat yes or no. With whatever number is we're showing them for that house. It will be, if you're not comfortable with this number, is there a number up to a certain amount that you would be comfortable with? Because that can also be really valuable information for us.
Yeah, and so you get that through that process, right? And then now it's time to go back to the city. Mm-hmm. It sounds like they're going to give you some manpower and some application, which Jason and I were teasing, but it is generous of them. I'm surprised it costs that much, but it's probably about right. And then you leverage their legal to put an official petition together.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have so many. Is there a time limit on how long you can get that petition done in?
I believe everything is like 60 days out on it. But it's that by the time we have this set, we'll be able to roll into that a lot
You'll
easier.
have a database, right?
Exactly.
And ways to contact people and and all that kind of stuff.
And the community has turned out for this.
Okay,
by and large, every time we have a community meeting about something else, there's somebody in the back. Hey, what about the PID? Can we get an update on the PID? How can we help? We have had people offer free accounting to help keep track of our books, and because we want to be very transparent with everything that we're doing inside this committee. Free accounting, free website hosting. People have been helping us out with donations of shirts at cost and ways to fundraise and make money. Time. Hey, I can call. Doing the calculations, making the maps. We all have full-time jobs and lives and families and everything, and we've been so blessed to have so many people offer to help, even just a little sliver that it's all stacking up. And so this huge mountain to climb, like I'm looking at the top right now. We can see it, and that's really exciting to know, because it's one thing to have an uphill battle where everybody's throwing rocks at you, but it's another one when you got a hand to grab and kind of lead you up the way. So.
Have you found any neighborhoods in Texas that have done something like this already? Have heard of any? Or
we did run across one. I think it was in the Dallas area, but it was even a little bit different than what we're trying to do, but the most similar that we have found. And they kind of rolled it out in phases where, phase 1, we're going to have enough money to put in this section of a park, and phase 2, and this was over like a 10-year period that they were developing, but it was a very similar thing. They were trying to, I don't know that they had actual developers wanting to put something on the land, but they were like, hey, there's this land behind us and we would like to do something for our community with it.
If y'all get this, right, what is the long-term goal for that land? Just not turning it over to developers, or you can turn it into a park, or what? So
we've struggled with this one, right? Because you can make none of the people happy all
sure,
of the time.
Absolutely.
Or
that's the one thing you can count
angry. So, we've had recommendations for, swimming pools and natatoriums and frisbee golf and turning it into a golf course and opening up a driving range and doing all of these things. And they're great ideas. Unfortunately, they come with a lot of cost, right?
Well, those are businesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're looking at every dollar that gets spent in that is a dollar that we're going to pay in an assessment to take care of that. And it seems that a majority of the people that we've talked to said, right now it's a trail, and I enjoy it as a trail, and we enjoy it as a green space. We wish it was mowed a little bit better. Sure. I myself mow like 4 houses wide on the backside just to keep the rats and everything down. But they were like, we love this green space. We love having an outside place. My kids run rampant up and down that place. It's a great little spot. There's people that take their little mini bikes and golf carts and whatever and cruise around. And it's really just a nice public piece of land that's simply maintained and can be done. And we were like, well, what if we just, cleaned up the trail? Because there's a bunch of spots of it that's in disarray. What if we, fix off the spot where the cart path is going to, eventually be all commercial? We put that in and, get the bathrooms back in working order, and we turn it into the little community center that everybody's enjoyed for so long. It keeps it simple. It keeps a majority of the people happy with it.
Low cost.
Keeps the cost down, and then we're able to, in perpetuity, enjoy this green space behind us without, throwing a jungle gym for the kids to come and yell and scream on directly behind somebody's house that may be opposed to it, or things like that.
Well, it's maintenance, right? And so, and if you have a PID, is there a voting board and there are elections and all? I mean, is it all that stuff?
It can be. You can process it however you want. With us, we have the PID committee, and then basically when you write the PID, it can go. The PID eventually goes over to the city. That's the long-term plan, right? As it gets handed over. Now, the PID Advisory Committee can still dictate what's going on that land, and that PID committee can either dissolve or it can stay. It can stay active and basically be, like, hey, we've got, X amount of money, or the city says, oh, our parks department wants to build a park over here. They can go out, they can poll, and they can create a vote and say, all right, yeah, we'll allow this, because the PID itself is actually written into a very big constraint that says, hey, this land, it's meant to be improved to these walking trails, it's meant to be maintained in X such a way, and that's it. And anything outside of that, it stays that in perpetuity. Once the PID committee owns the land, then as owners, we can apply to have it rezoned as greenbelt or park space, or whatever is going to fit that best to help protect it long term. And that's the end goal for us, really, is to protect this in perpetuity.
Not sell it to an apartment complex for a profit, get your money back plus interest.
If we did that, we'd use the money to build that wall in between Church and Cibolo,
there you go.
So,
As it is right now, you are the owner of the property, has had lots of many
contracts, many contract extensions, and many contract pullouts.
You don't have any really dollars and cents what they will sell it for, but I would imagine y'all aren't going to get a deal.
So we are and we aren't. One of the things is this has been a big headache for them, right?
For the developer.
Or
the
for
owners.
the brokers, right? Because they have somebody come in under contract, and then they watch this parcel get beat up through city council meetings and zoning requests and all this, and they go, I don't know if we want to bite off on that and have to sit on this property for 3 years. I mean, Hobby's now going into start a year 2 of trying to get their rezoning done. And time is money for a business, and it gives the developer a quick and easy, hey, we want it, we're out, we're done, move on.
So the brokers told us that their main money they recognize is going to be from the
Frontage.
commercial land.
Sure.
And so they were like, you know what? We're kind of tired of people being scared to buy because the neighborhoods are showing up. And so he was like, he has talked with the owner, and they're like, we would actually really like to work with you guys if you guys can make it happen.
What's the worst idea have you heard of? You said a sewage treatment plant. Was that a real thing?
No. So actually, in the corner, it was a sewer treatment plant. That's actually the final nail in the golf course that killed it.
When it shut down.
And they shut that down, and they didn't have access to green water anymore. So there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, one of the big things was like some type of like in between rehab facility put behind us, and I mean, that sends the family. Yeah. I mean, I had my neighbors beating up the doors like, hey, what's going on over here?
How do we stop this?
Yeah. So it's all sorts of things. I mean, right now there's a lot of stuff that's slated for up and around there. We don't know everything, right? The developer hasn't, or the broker hasn't showed us all his cards of what's to come, but we see, and we've had a good open conversation and dialogue with them, and they've said, hey, we're on board with this. It serves both our needs. So I don't think we're looking at paying extravagant land prices, because we're not looking to turn a profit on it. But I also don't think we're getting it, so far below market value that it's silly.
How many houses?
It's around 1,500 the way that map is color coded right there. Probably just a little shy of that. So in our very first conversations with the broker, we can't talk real numbers, but he said the way that he would kind of view this, and this was news to me, I learned something, the way they price the land is by what is going to be developed on it. Because if you're going to put in fourplexes and make a ton of money, they'd like to have a piece of that.
Sure.
So he said for us, he would look at it more like we were putting in single family homes. where you're not going to turn as big of a profit. So he's like, maybe that would be a good starting point for cost.
Right. And so, yeah. So if you got 40 some odd acres and, you would figure out how many single family homes you can get in there and then everything else. So that at least gives you a ballpark, an idea.
Yeah, ballpark, they were putting us at like $8.5 million for land acquisition, somewhere right around there.
He gave us a price per like square foot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we calculated out and kind of figured out where we were close at, and also too, it was a little on the high side. Everything that we've been doing has been a little bit on the high side, so that we have some safety built into it. We are calculating all of our payments and our projections and everything like that at the maximum interest rate. So that we're not over promising and under delivering. We're saying, hey, look, if you're right with this, like the reality's probably going to be a little bit lower or pretty darn close.
Long term, do you have to pay for everything before the city acquires it? Or do they come in and say, we'll pick up half the note?
So there's some discrepancy in this. So the city can, say to us, hey, we're going to offer our maintenance, for no cost, right? We've got people out mowing lawns, taking care of the parks. We'll have them come take care of that. By law, the letter of the law, in theory, we are supposed to pay for all city maintenance that's done on that land through the process until the city fully takes it over. The city's been very, eager to work with us. Our parks department in Church, is all gung-ho for any new parks that they can get. I mean, I feel like every other council meeting, they're voting on some land to buy. So this gives them an opportunity to bring something in there and gives them another blank canvas to start to work with and kind of go hand in hand with the PID committee as we move forward to say, hey, let's put this in here, let's put that in, and make something that's going to serve our area of the community in a way that fits us.
I got to ask you about the nuts and bolts a little bit. So, you guys get the petitions, you go round 2, you get the official petition. Is there an election at that point, or is once you have the official petition, that's it? Let's go to the bank and
then it goes before city council. They get the final vote. If we have reached that 51%, then we've at least gotten before them, right? With our application, we have the support, and then they get to vote on it just like they would vote on any development coming in.
And so let's say you get like 65%, you go to the council meeting and they say no. I mean, are you going to be upset?
Absolutely. That'd be
all
pretty,
this work, right?
The opposite of transparency, but it's just.
What do you think the temperature is of council right now? Then
it's been positive. I mean, we've had many people when we had the PID workshop done. Many of the council members said, "Hey, we think this is a good idea. We think it's going to be a massive amount of work, and we're not sure you guys are going to do it, but we're already here."
And they pointed out that they can get behind that percentage of it for it to pass because that's how they get elected. They're like, we're elected on that 50% threshold,
nice.
So we don't see why that wouldn't apply for you guys.
It kind of would really look bad if they, advertised this 51% to us and then at the last minute pulled the rug out from underneath us. But, I'm just saying.
Well,
you are dealing with the Shirts Council, you never know. And then they vote on it, and then the city executes everything. Mm-hmm. And then they help, figure out the assessments. Can you escrow the assessments?
Our understanding is that they're going to hire a management company. And then, if somebody isn't paying their assessment, that company would take care of that. But the city will cash in bonds to actually purchase it. And then that management company is in charge of the assessments on the homes. And then we all know what our payments are. And that's where it all starts.
Essentially, it's basically cutting out the middleman of when the city acquires land either way. Or, I guess adding in a middleman, right? Yeah. Except because instead of it, getting pulled from all of our taxes, those of us that live in the area and see the benefit, we pay the assessment to purchase the land. Not, this doesn't affect the tax rate. It doesn't affect the budget for the remainder of the city. So people on 1518 in Church or downtown, they're not bearing the burden of this.
But they can use it.
But they absolutely
There's
can.
some neighborhoods there on the map. They don't have to pay a penny, some of those people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're right there.
Absolutely.
Oh, this guy.
Man, well, they should be helping with the petitions.
Hey,
They
we'll
get a
take
park.
all the help
I
we
mean,
can get.
if they can go out and just get these people to walk a little bit, they get a park.
Do you
know?
want to keep your free park access?
Yeah, you would think, and that's the thing. It's really not a hard sell. You know, that's the thing that we've run into. One of the biggest things is, oh yeah, try to get people to give you money. Like, say that's the hardest thing, or try to get people to spend money on anything. Well, with this, no, you know, because we literally have had the wolf at the door. Everybody has seen, okay, like this is where this is going. We are going to fight developers for the rest of our lives here,
Or not?
or not.
Or not.
And so many people are like, well, you mean I don't have to do it this way? I don't have to get all angry and get on Facebook and make a rant or show up at the council meeting and, you know, scream.
Just think about how much money city council would save on the security guards, the bouncers at the council meeting.
Yeah, the violent
violent
senior
mob.
community members out there in a mob saying
Well,
they
it's
want their safety.
And it's emotionally draining and all that stuff, fighting something like this. You know, that's how I got it, you know, over here. You know,
Well,
with the
for
Harrison
everybody,
house and-
you know. I mean,
It's-
can you imagine being the owner? It's like, oh, we finally got another bite on this property, and then
So when do you anticipate having the initial round? You know, I'm not going to hold you any of this, so feel free to pad it a little bit. Do you,
So we're hoping by next month that we'll be starting all of our walkthrough, all of this initial thing. That'll give us our final calculations. And I mean, I really foresee us being able to put this in front of the council with our petition probably, you know, before Christmas.
Yeah, for sure.
That's your goal.
And that's really our goal. It's a lot to chew. You know, it is a big project, and we've come very, very far in less than a year.
what would be the biggest help, the biggest boost in shot in the arm that you guys could get right now?
Public knowledge.
Letting everybody know what's happening.
Public knowledge.
You know, a large part of our community is senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on social media. And so we put a lot of stuff out there, and you think you're reaching a lot of people because there's comments and people are going. But then when you really get out there, they're like, we don't know nothing about this. And so getting the word out to people has been a struggle. It has, especially with that many homes. So, and knocking on every door, you know, that's also a challenge.
Sure.
They don't answer, or like we talked about a little bit ago, you know, they're not the actual homeowner, they're renters. We have had pretty good luck with, hey, could you please get this to your landlord?
Sure.
Oh, sure, absolutely. We'd be happy to.
Well, yeah, I can imagine anybody that's got kids in that area. You know,
Yep.
It seems like it's a
It's that
kid-friendly zone.
It's that, and it's the nuts and the bolts of it too. You know, a lot of people, you know, you say PID, and you start using all these acronyms, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's this? What development is this now? What is it? Oh, who do I pay my money? Do I give it to you, or we buying it? You know, what happens and how does it work?" And so that was one of the biggest things we thought. Oh man, this is going to be the perfect spot to get on. We're going to talk about it. You guys are going to ask all the questions because you're coming into it blind. That everybody's going to ask, and we can give somebody something that they can watch, you know, at 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whenever they're free. They can watch it. They can get all the information. They can understand the nuts and bolts behind it, and we can get this process started and raise the.
And if you don't get the signatures, I think you will. But if you don't, then that's just what the people want. Then, you know, are you guys just going to be done fighting?
No,
I mean, you're like, these people don't give a crap anyway. I'm just done.
No, we are a very passionate bunch on this committee, and this is a very passionate community out here. They will, regardless of the PID passing or failing, fight tooth and nail to the death to protect the way of life that we have over there. I mean, our community is fantastic. My kid plays up and down the street, no problems. We don't have. I've got 10 people on my block that have an eyeball out the window of my kids out front playing, that are watching over her. We go across the street, swim with our neighbors. We have, you know, backyard chickens, of course, right? You have little COVID chickens. We distribute eggs out to the rest of the community. We cruise up and down there on the golf course or on the golf cart. We walk, we talk with people. Our little area is so tight knit between everybody. There's always somebody that's helping somebody out. We really have a great pocket of a community over here, and that's what we're trying to protect. And we're not saying we don't want anybody new into it, but what we're saying is, you know, hey, we love the way that it is, and we love this great asset that's right behind us. You know, I sit on my front or my back porch, and I drink my coffee, and I look out, and I don't see another house. I see a green rolling hill. and I get a nice breeze, and it's quiet and it's relaxing, and it's really good. And that's what we're fighting to protect. That and the access to something in the neighborhood that the kids can go tear up on their bikes, that they can ride around on, that people from Scenic Hills or other parts of the community can hop in their golf cart and cruise around and pick a wildflower and give it to their gal. It's a nice little spot, and that's really what it is.
If you don't get the signatures, the only time, I know there's a sense of urgency, don't get me wrong, but the only real time constraint you have is the property being sold.
Yes.
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, if this go around, you're really close and it doesn't get, you can keep going until you get the signatures or whatever it is. Right. So that's good.
But the broker could sell it, and
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we could lose the support of the broker. One of the big things is with the hobby development coming in, maybe that's the sign that other developers needed to see of, something happened out here, so now we'll come in and we'll actually get under contract. Now we'll actually buy out and try.
What's the name of that road that gets to 35 that goes right down the middle?
Country Club.
Country Club Road. Once it's all tore up with 18-wheelers from that first development there.
Mhm.
So, hey, this is going to go on for years.
Oh, no, it's already torn up.
Yeah, it started torn up.
Torn
Yeah.
upper.
it's been torn up for a while.
Yes.
Mhm. It wasn't, it was a couple months ago that there was a...
How does it compare to 1103?
I'd say it gives 1103 in its current state a run for its money.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there was I have a F-250, and I would bottom out the suspension on my truck going up and down Country Club up until just a few months ago when they finally repaired where the old cart tunnel was that had caved in. I guess nobody knows how to do a proper lift and fill, to compact the soil, right? So it's constantly just sinking out. And I mean, we've got ramps in our roads, and we've got a lot of settlement and things moving. I mean, just the other week, I had El Rio de freaking Fairways Drive because up on Columbia, a water main snapped, and all the water and all the dirt that it was pushing out came down right up and lapped up the side of my driveway and then right down by my house.
You could have made little boats with your petition so people could sign and just send them down the river.
Sailboats.
Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah.
Well, because insurance would have came in and give you a littering charge, but that's
Well,
why,
is it
Kevin.
as bad as that road over there where Mark Allen ran over? What's the name? Where your mom lives there?
On Tolly.
Yeah, Tolly Road.
Tolly
Yeah,
Road.
is it
It's
yeah.
just slightly better than Tolly, but I think that's just because it's insurance.
Man, I had to go to Santa Clara, and I drove down that in the Camaro, and I was like, what was I thinking, man?
Oh,
I was going like 2 miles. I had to pick my way through there.
Mhm. I took the motorcycle over to show off to my dad, and I'm coming down Tolly Road, and I only had to make it, halfway down to get to the ranch, and I'm like, I don't even remember how to ride this thing. Like,
And then and then after that, it's like giving people an idea what the numbers are, get the petitions, and then you're going to be good to go.
First step is the petitions.
yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's it. So they're going to be coming to neighborhoods near you
That's right.
in the heat of the summer to
awful.
show how dedicated they are.
Cold beers and cold water is always accepted by the PID committee.
Yes. I guess that's all I have, Jason. Wait, there's one more thing I want to ask Paul about once we have this wrapped up, but go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, do you have a website or something? Where can people find more about this?
So we do. We have NorthcliffePID.com, which will be updated with all the new stuff as soon as we start to roll it out. It's currently active, and you can kind of get a general understanding of what a PID is.
And that is Northcliffe with the E.
Yes, yeah, the proper spelling of Northcliffe. We also have our social media page, Save the
Wait,
Northcliffe.
he's confused on the spelling.
Why do they have the E?
Because it's Northcliffe. That's how
It's
you
just
spell it. It's Old
fancier that
English.
way.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that French?
It's Texan.
Oh.
Northcliffe. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, as it is up there. See, Northcliffe with the E, Northcliffe A.
It's redneck.
Yeah,
It's redneck.
you just hold your pinky out when you say it there.
Huh.
We are a highly esteemed community, sir.
That's
right?
full
Full
of
of
This
doctors
was
and
this was named a long time before you guys showed up.
That's
It
what
was-
the E stands for. Esteemed. Yes.
Go ahead. So the website. Go ahead. Where
So
else?
the website, NorthcliffePID.com. We also have our social media, Save the Northcliffe Golf Course.
That's on Facebook.
Facebook.
That's on Facebook. There's a handful of there's all the different community
HOA
HOA
pages.
pages that are linked into it, and they kind of stay active with it as well.
I'd
What's the
imagine your
website?
website has all the everything, all the website, all the different places y'all are.
Everything's getting linked in there. It's just a process. None of us are web designers as a day job, so it's been kind of.
We put the website right up here in the camera shot, so you'll be able to find it.
There we go. North.
There'll be a little bubble that comes up. You got to be quick, though. You got to be quick. We don't leave it up there very long. You got to pay extra. That's called a sponsorship. See? Yeah. Hey,
well, would you like to sponsor some advertising for the PID?
Add it onto the assessment. You guys should be paying sponsorship here. Any more questions, Jason?
No, I'm good. I was just wanted to make sure we got all the contact info.
Thank you guys for coming in. Best of luck to you.
Thank you
and
very
best
much.
of luck. It's great you're being a voice for your community. You're giving them an option. And if it fails, then, no houses for sale in Selma. Too bad. You're going to have to go to Cibolo. So, thank you guys for coming
I'll come
in.
room
Jason,
with you.
You want to say anything?
Yeah, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for Paul for coming down.
Thank you
thanks
guys
for having us.
Yeah.